welcome to Dave's Kitchen. I'm Dave, and this is Dave's Kitchen. Today we're going to make Dave's famous homemade salsa. And in order to get this going, you're going to need some stuff to start out with. Start out with some jars. You're going to need somewhere to put it when you're done. You're going to need a cutting board and a sharp knife or two. You're going to need a big spoon, always handy. Maybe a spatula, garlic press, can opener, and these measuring thingies if you care about measuring. I use a food processor, but you don't have to. You can just cut stuff up the way you like it, where you like it, as you like it. And one big pot to put everything in. Stove is awfully handy, barbecue will work. We'll get going. To kick this off at the very beginning, we just want to do the aromatics, as they call them, the spicy stuff. And as a base, I use a little bit of Hunt's tomato paste. Not sauce. Sauce is runny, paste is pasty. So you grab a can opener, get into a couple of these, throw them in the pot. You can start some heat on it, simmers it low. The really, really boring part is having it simmer for a while, but your house will smell wonderful. So, here we go. And don't worry, I'll edit this down so that, it'll jump ahead from place to place when we're done. Oh, also, remember to wash everything. Wash your hands, wash your counters, because you are going to get your fingers into this as you go. Start with a spatula. Well, you can't see that well. Let's do this over here. So we're going to add a couple of cans of tomato paste, and then we'll get going. Our aromatics in this, I use some red pepper, cayenne pepper, chili pepper sort of peppers. I also use serrano peppers, some onion, some crushed black pepper, and some garlic. Now, you can use garlic powder, or you can use fresh crushed garlic. Either way, whatever suits your taste, your family, and your convenience. Not everybody wants to peel and crush a bunch of garlic into this sort of deal. Not everybody wants to cut all this stuff into little bitty pieces, which is why the food processor is very, very handy. Okay, we'll start from there and we'll keep on the jars to hold our little spatula. And let's put this on the stove. I'm not going to turn the heat on just yet. We'll grab the garlic press and a little bit of garlic that I peeled earlier because that's boring to watch. Smells wonderful. I mean, if you like garlic, it smells wonderful. Okay. Wonder how loud that is. Remember, this is my first time, so this could be edited down to 5 minutes, 2 minutes. I could already be done. Who knows? Darn it. You may have noticed that this cutting board isn't sitting flat on the counter. There's a reason for that. It's because I put this little thingy underneath it so that it tilts towards the sink. And when I'm cutting up vegetables, if there is a runoff of excess water and fluid, it will run into the sink. Hopefully. In theory. Maybe. So we have some smushed up garlic, about that much. We'll put that in here. And food processor. Not a sponsor. And let's add, we got some crushed red peppers. We got some onion. We got a bag of serrano peppers. I like serranos over the jalapeno peppers. Jalapenos don't seem to have as much heat in them, but if you can find nice spicy ones, why not? And then some black pepper from the old grinder here. It takes a few turns to get some of that out. And if you like, I use a herb grinder for the red pepper, just to open it up and get the whole flow of the red pepper into the salsa. So with the onion, you don't have to cut them up too far because you are jamming them in the food processor. And you may have noticed I have a bowl over here because we do have food compost recycling in my building, and I do that. So anytime there's waste from making salsa, it's not actually waste, it goes into the compost. It's a really good habit to get into, even for us apartment dwellers. So there we go, some onion. That's a whole, I would call it medium onion. Probably not enough, given that it's not making me cry yet, so I don't think it's that potent. But we'll see. Okay, so I want some nice clean serrano peppers. They say the ones that curl more have more spice to them. I've never tested that theory, but you know. Okay. So for starters, I'm going to put 5 in here. We'll see where that gets us. You can always add more spice later. Speaking of adding spice later, if you're going to put any red hot sauce or any specific spice, smoked spice, that sort of thing, do it at the end. Putting it in now is going to allow it to dissipate while it's cooking, and it is going to simmer for quite a while. So you're going to lose a lot of that bite. Unless that's what you're going for, something a little more mild, then sure, add it halfway through. And I do like cutting the serranos by hand, because then you have little circles in the salsa. People who don't like them can avoid them, and people who do like them can enjoy them. Alright, so we are going to just drop, let's say 3 of them. Into the food processor, because you gotta have some heat down there. Alright, so 1, 2, 3 in there, and then these bad boys are going to go right in the bowl. Take some of our spice, what is this, red peppers? Crushed red peppers. And we're going to spin the old grinder here and put, I don't know, I've never actually thought about how much goes in here. I just do it till it looks okay. Probably a tablespoon, maybe a tablespoon and a half. Maybe none if you like it mild. Do it to taste. It's a good idea to taste everything. I haven't done it so far today, but when you're cutting up a serrano pepper, you can actually take a little piece of it, stick it in your mouth, taste it. Taste the onion. See how strong they are or weak they are, how much you like them. Food by taste, not by measurement. Also, then you don't have to clean the spoon. Alright, let's get some black pepper going in here. If you don't have a pepper mill, you have a hammer or an axe or something like that, it'll work just as well. I would say that's about tablespoonish, or just do it till the pepper mill runs out and you have to refill the pepper mill. Okay, let's move these out of the way. So, I think I'm going to add just a little bit more onion. Feels like about a third of an onion. So one large, 1 1/3 medium, something in that neighborhood. There we go. Now, that's all in there, and it's going to be fine. But, out of habit for the past 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, however long I've been doing this, I have cut up the first tomato and put it in there because it provides some lubricant, I don't know, some substance for the food processor to push around the food and chop it all up nicely. So I'll just keep doing that. These food processors have the little thing that you can put stuff in the top. Super handy. Sorry, didn't mean to point the knife at you. Making salsa is a non-violent activity. Unless you're actually using an axe to crush your peppers. And try to use as much of the tomatoes and peppers and that. Don't be wasteful. There's a lot of waste coming out of this anyway. The little bits all add up. Alright, so we'll throw that in here. And the really important thing about your spices is you've just got because if you don't do that, you'll just ruin the whole batch, right? You know. Right. So, now we have our first mush of the aromatics. And we will add this to the pot. And you don't have to be super careful about getting everything out yet, because we're just going to throw more stuff in and grind it all up. So, process it all up, food process it all up. Alright, now, on a gas stove like mine, you really have to be careful with your heat, because this is going to simmer for a long time, and gas creates a great deal of heat. I have a copper bottom pot to help displace the heat or spread the heat out, but you want to make sure that your stove element is on the minimum or pretty close to it. You basically want this stuff to simmer and bubble slightly, but you don't want to smell anything burn. You're going to have to stir it quite frequently. Something is stirring. Speaking of stirring, let's blend this all together. And where is this? Super handy. It's called a spoon rest. Who knew? and we rest the spoon in the spoon rest. We want to make sure this is covered. If it gets really wet, if you're noticing a lot of water on the surface, you can take the lid off and let that steam off a little bit to give it a thicker consistency. I don't generally do that, but if you have it really, really runny, you can always add another jar of tomato paste to thicken it up, or these little tomato paste jars come in little teeny weeny ones. So if you just need a little bit, you can throw one of those in. Handy hint. I've done this a few times. All right, so now we've got everything started. We've got our base together. It's got some heat under it. We're gonna make sure, if you're not used to checking back on this frequently, set yourself a little alarm for every 7 or 8 minutes or something, just to go over and stir it up a little bit. You're gonna be stirring this for a while. It's gotta simmer down. Simmer down. So, I have a sink full of water here, just cool water, and I throw all my veggies in here and wash them. In the sink next door, I have just a regular colander. So I can take my washed veggies out, put them in here. Sounds easy if you say it fast. And by the time I'm ready to use these ones, they're drip dry. And in the meantime, I will add some more into the wash bin and take the labels off them before they go in there. These labels are murder to get off once they're wet. I don't know how they make them like that. Oh, quantity. I don't know what size pot this is. Maybe I'll look it up and put it in the notes afterwards. But generally speaking, these bags that they have at my favorite little market around the corner, if you get them about 2/3 full for green peppers, red peppers, and I just use field tomatoes. You can use whatever type of tomato. For aroma, you can use those. Cherry tomatoes would take hours to cut. But yeah, that's about the the eyeball quantity. If you end up with an extra tomato at the end, you can always throw it in a sandwich the next day. Yeah. So probably fast forward this part because you're not going to want to watch me do this. All right, hopefully that wasn't too boring. Now, basically, I'm just going to cut up one of each of these, throw it in the food. Not cut them up too far, just cut off the stuff that I don't want as part of the salsa. So essentially the top and the bottom of the tomato. And then when we're cutting peppers, I have found over the years that this part of the pepper makes the salsa very, very bitter. So I try to cut it so that there's a minimal amount of that in there. It doesn't matter if any of the seeds get left behind. Usually those are pretty spicy anyway. But the idea is to get that, I don't know what they call it, pith? Pith? Is it called pith? Something like that. Get that out of there. You don't want that in your salsa. That's just, it's going to make it bitter. So let's throw these in. Again, they don't have to be cut up much. This is probably fine to go in that size. And then the tops, you can salvage as much of that as you can. Watch out for blemishes. There was one in here that had a little bit of a gouge in it. We'll be careful with that one. Maybe I'll do that one next. Don't put anything gross in your salsa. process this down too far. I wonder if I can show you this. It's not actually, it's quite chunky still. You can actually make out the green peppers and the red peppers in there. You can go farther if you like it more pasty, like salsa ketchup. If that's your thing, that's your thing. Make it whatever way you like it. Like, this is the way that I like it. It's the way I've liked it for years. Cook things the way you like. Enjoy them the way you like. Nobody in your family is going to complain because you made it well. All right. Stay hydrated. There we go. Let's cut this one up. This one doesn't look very good. I don't know why I picked this one out of the bunch, but we'll make it work. There. All right, I'll take a green one and a tomato one. I have a couple of friends who are chef people, and they're probably watching this saying, that's not a good knife. He's holding it wrong. But I am not a professional chef. I've never worked. Have I worked in a kitchen? Maybe in a pizzeria. Not for very much. I mean, not for very much money, not for very much time. Kind of the nature of how pizza works. Maybe one of these times we'll do something else. Maybe some lasagna. Maybe some shepherd's pie. Something similar. Making some work lunches. And maybe we can do a live stream and have some interaction. Maybe have some questions from the audience. Or something like that. Feel free. Who knows if this is getting published or not. But if it does, and there's a comment section, feel free to comment. All right. Back to being loud for a moment. This is not the sort of thing you want to make at 6 o'clock in the morning or at 11 o'clock at night. At this point, it just looks like tomato paste. It'll take a while until you get enough ingredients in there to alter the balance, as it were. So, hang in there. This doesn't happen quickly. But if you love salsa, it's worth every minute. That's another thing. When you are cutting these, if you run across a piece of fruit or vegetable that is a little bit icky and you cut it open, make sure that you wash your cutting board. Get that stuff out of the way. You don't want that contaminating even a little bit of mold or rot or whatever it is. Get rid of it. There we go. And no, Dave does not sell salsa. I have been known to give away a jar here and there for somebody's event, birthday, or I don't know, when they're having barbecue at their house, something like that. But the amount of cost involved in doing this, I'm sure, even when I get, what do I have, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, a dozen jars out of this, there would be no financial gain in selling it. If you want to, make a much, much bigger pot if you're going to sell it. That's the only way to make any money at this. And by much, much bigger, I mean like 24, 36 inch across. Cauldron. If you have a witch's cauldron in your house, you could make some money making salsa. Ta-da! Don't know if you can tell from back there, but already when I open this up, there's steam coming out of it. Because this, just that little bit of flame, I don't know if you can even see that from back there, just a little bit of flame on the stove creates an enormous amount of heat under this pot. So, realistically, I could have waited until now, until I had the pot about a quarter full before I turned the heat on, because that's going to get hot really fast. Okay. Another 3 of these. Let's do an extra tomato in this one, because these are small. Which is why I don't go by, when I'm doing measurements, I don't say 8 tomatoes. Because tomatoes are all different sizes. You never know what you're going to get. You get what you get. That's why I use the 2/3 of a bag. It's usually a good average. Whatever works. The first time you make it, if it's too tomatoey, use less tomatoes. Use less tomato paste. Use more of everything else. Whatever works. The idea is to make it the way you like it. so you can enjoy it. Again, I'm doing my best to get rid of that white inside part, but I'm not being like super vigilant or diligent about it. A little of it isn't gonna make a big difference, but if you left all of that in there, it would make a difference. There's a balance between perfection and efficiency. That if you want to be perfect, grab yourself a tiny knife and get in there. I'm just not that fussy. And it's never really made a difference in the end product. Not that I can tell anyway. Alright, a couple more tomatoes. You will find at different times of the year, you're going to get a different quality, a different type, and a different size of tomatoes and peppers and what have you. Go with availability. You know, a lot of restaurants just have seasonal vegetables because they change. Same thing with your salsa. You can have seasonal salsa. In the wintertime, when it's cold, you can make it more spicy. I don't know if you can hear that. But it's already, you can hardly see that. It's already bubbling through. It's got that much heat in it on the absolute minimum setting on the stove. Now, if you have a stove ring, they make a ring to raise these up. Or you could turn the heat off and on, I guess. But in practicality, you want it to get hot. You want it to get warm. Not too hot that you couldn't dunk your finger in it for a second, right? You don't want it cooked. You just want it simmered. Just slightly hotter than the perfect bowl of soup, if that means anything. All right, putting the food processor back to work. Because it doesn't have to be perfect. So, we got maybe 2 more batches for the food processor. Maybe we should talk about the jars for a moment. These are actual canning jars. They're Bernardin, and they have the self-sealing lid. So if you put anything hot in here, these are mason jars, yeah. If you put anything hot in here and you use these lids, when it cools down, it'll suck the lid down and it'll vacuum seal it. These will last a long, long time. You can use these lids. If you're reusing a jar from the store, from like, this is from Classico Pasta, you can use these. They do have a seal in them. If you get them hot enough and you close them, they will seal down. Problem with doing that is they will probably seal down so tight that you have to damage the lid to take it off. And then when you put the lid back on, it's not properly sealed. If you've been around these a long, long time, especially if your mother or grandmother uses them, you know that when you take this off, the ring is still sealed to the jar. And there's a little spiral lip down here that this lid attaches to. And all you need to do is take the back flat part of your knife and just gently pry that lid up. As soon as you break the air seal on that lid, it will pop off nice and free. You don't have to sit there trying to pull on it or pry it or hit it with a hammer or a screwdriver. Just put a regular bread knife or something like this with a flat back on that little ridge and just give it a little pry, and you'll hear it go, and it'll let air into the jar and release it. One of Dave's handy tips, I suppose. I don't know if they made them like that, or if that's just coincidental, but it works. Also, if you happen to be a person who makes things at home and stores the extra in your fridge, instead of using plastic wrap over a glass bowl, if you're storing gravy, if you make poutine, you have extra gravy, you make roast beef, you have extra gravy, you make a roast chicken, you have extra gravy, throw in one of these. Everything goes in the washer, everything gets clean, everything gets reused. You're not throwing away plastic. Everything. It's all good. Oh, and they come in various sizes. So you can put all kinds of different things in there, not just liquids. If you like pickles at work, take some pickles in a jar. Share them with your friends. Nothing says I want you to be my friend more than giving someone a pickle. At least, I think that's how Tiffany worded it. At least I think that's how Overprotected Atheist worded it. Alrighty, we're really getting it done here. The camera and the recording equipment makes a little bit of motivation to do this expediently and not stop. It's all good. Whoops. All right. We have more. There's always, it feels like it's an endless supply of more vegetables, fruits, ingredients. If these are ingredients, what are outgredients? Already, I'm getting close to the end now, but you can see how much recycling, compost comes out of this. When you think about what you're paying per pound for vegetables and for produce, it seems like a lot to throw away. It is a lot to throw away. Don't throw it away. Put it in the recycling. Also, you may have noticed by now, sorry to point the knife at you, this one's blunt. It's not a very stabby knife. The other one's more stabby. It takes a while. You're standing in the kitchen for a little bit doing this. Get some comfy slippers. Get some comfy pants. Get your comfy hat on. You know, you can be here for a while. Maybe a glass of wine. Sip of scotch. Enjoy yourself. Going to the kitchen to make food isn't a chore. It's an activity. Like any other activity. Share it with a friend. Which is what I'm doing right now. Hopefully, if you saw that. If I didn't screw the whole batch up and cut the video. The cool thing about this is, if anything exciting happens here, you guys get to see it. I mean, not live, and you might see it edited, but still, you know. One day we'll live stream this. Hey, maybe one of my foodie friends will come over and teach you guys all the things that I did wrong. Well, one of the things that you're missing out on is how delicious it smells in here. The aroma of making salsa in your house will get your neighbors knocking on your door. Alright, so we're up to about there in the pot right now. Not much left to go. Like, I do usually make more than that, but the produce store that I went to was desperately lacking in quality of green peppers, so I basically picked out all of the good ones and then grabbed as much of the rest of stuff that I needed to make a proportionate amount of salsa. Which again, It's just your recipe. You don't have to adhere to anyone else's rules, especially mine. I'm very pro-choice in the kitchen and most other places. Do a little wipey here. Well, this is it, the last three. We'll toss these in there. I'll do a little cleaning up around here. Probably going to throw some meat, some lean ground beef with some chorizo in it on the stove, and cook that up so that I can have some chips and salsa fresh out of the cauldron, speckled with a little bit of beef and some cheese, nice and spicy, as soon as it's done. Because there's nothing better than nice hot salsa on a cool winter's day. I mean, fresh hot salsa. Oh, is it winter yet? I don't think so. I think it's still fall. I probably shouldn't have thrown any weather comments in there because that's going to date, or date stamp, I don't know, date contaminate the video. We don't want this to be seasonal. This is just any time. You can make salsa for Christmas, or New Year's, or Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day would be pretty good because it's red and everything, right? Now the worst thing you can do is run out of ingredients while you're doing this. But, I mean, if you're close enough to the store, it's not the end of the world. But again, whatever ingredients you put in whatever quantities is your thing. Make it your own. All right, last chance. Last chance, last time, last run, last food processor. All right, everything's all ground up. Now, like anything else, we want to taste it a little farther along. I mean, it's hot and it's bubbling. We want to probably simmer it for, I would say, at least half an hour on low heat. Keep an eye on it, stir it every 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes, depending on how your heat is. If you hear it percolating inside, that's a good indicator that you should get over there and stir it. All dishwasher safe. Now, if you remember from earlier, I kept the spatula from the tomato paste, because we're going to need to spatulize this. All right, that'll work. Oh yeah, I don't think I mentioned that earlier, but physics being what it is, a little cauldron hint here. You've seen me stirring this, and stirring it around is great, but you're going to want to stir it top to bottom as well, because it will, especially on a gas stove, it'll heat up the bottom first, and you want to spread that heat throughout the salsa. You also want to make sure that it doesn't heat up too fast or too much, or possibly burn the bottom of the pot. So, a few stirs around, a few stirs over every time. Keep that spoon handy. And yes, it's okay for other family members to jump in and stir this whenever they want. If they happen to be so inclined. All right, so a little bit of cleanup here. I'm going to give it about probably a half an hour. Give it a taste test. If it needs a little more kick, we have more serrano peppers. We have the food processor ready to go. We can throw a little Frank's Red. I usually throw, I don't know, 6 or 7 squirts. What would that be? 1 or 2 tablespoons? You're probably noticing this one's almost empty. There's another one over there. So, we will get back to the end point in the process. Once it's all simmered down and still has some temp in it, because we want it nice and hot when we put it in the jars and when we eat it. So in the meantime, I'm going to clean up. I'm going to make a little meat on the stove, and I'm going to shred some cheese. Do I have my cheese shredder handy? Got my cheese shredder handy. Going to shred up some cheese to throw on top of some chips, and hopefully in a little while I'll be able to show you the process of jarring everything up, and then the process of eating the salsa, which is far and away the best part. Stay with me. All right, we're back, and the salsa is simmered away. I just threw some Frank's Red Hot in there, and I didn't turn on the video because it was kind of boring, and because the jar was almost empty. So what I always do, dump a whole bunch of salsa in there, shake it all up, and then dump it all out. And jar comes nice and clean, throw that in the recycling. Always have a second bottle of this sitting around, you know, just in case. So, we got everything tidied up. I made a little beef ready to go for some chips and salsa with sprinkling of beef chorizo and a little bit of What did I put in there? Like a black pepper thing stuff. It's all good. Put whatever you want on it. So let's see if we can show this to you. I don't know if you'll be able to see it from way over there or see it well. You know what I'll do is I'll take my phone and I'll do a little picture. So maybe you can see it's been bubbling up and it's nice and hot. You can see it's steamy. Not too hot. It's not getting to the point where it would burn. But if you're going to put it in a jar, you want it to be steamy hot so the jar seals properly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill the small jars first, and whatever's left I'm going to fill the large jars, and then with whatever's left after the last complete jar is going to go in here because I'm going to need it. So probably going to time lapse this so that you don't have to sit here and watch me fill all these jars. If you happen to have, these are all sterilized out of the dishwasher. They're good to go. You can see the lids are actually clamped down on them because they were hot when they came out. So they are nice and clean. The lids are all good. You'll hear them pop like that when they seal down afterwards. What else was I going to say about? Oh, if you have a funnel. Funnels are handy. I've never used one. I just try to aim really well into the top of the jar, and if it doesn't work, you wipe it off the side. It's all good. Waste not, want not. Lick your fingers. All right, so here I go. I'm going to dry this up, and you're going to get to watch a time lapse. All right, so everything's in a jar. It looks like we made, these are 500 milligrams, or yeah, something like that. Milliliters, 500 milliliters. So we have about 8 jars, 8, 9, if you count this. A little bit left in the pot, which I'll just fill up here after I'm done having lunch. And that is how you make salsa. Obviously, there's a little bit of cleanup left to do at the end. But, you know, this is enough to last me a little while. If you saw during the video, I was wiping the top of the jars, the inside rim of the jar, which is a really good idea, this rim here. Make sure that's nice and clean so that when you do seal them up, they do seal properly. The jars and the lids are hot right now. In about 10 or 15 minutes, come around and just give them a snug turn. You don't have to make them too tight. The little lids inside are going to seal on their own. You just want to make sure that they're nicely snug. This is still pretty darn warm. Alright, we should be good to go. Space those out on the counter, let them cool down on their own, and now to enjoy some salsa. I'm going to put some chips and some beef and some jalapenos. I do have some avocados, they're just not ripe enough yet to make any guacamole out of. Maybe in a day or two we'll do that. But yeah, that's great. Let's put together a plate, and maybe I'll take a picture of that on the phone and stick it in at the end. Maybe I'll do a little video, but we'll see. All right, so here's some chips on a plate. Here's a little bit of, ooh, that's still warm. A little bit of beef to crumble on top. Again, whoops, one of those on the floor. That's for the dog. I don't have a dog. I did do a little bit of a steak spice with a little bit of chorizo in here. Give it a little zip. And I do make other things out of this during the week. It's great on pasta with that herb and garlic pasta sauce. It's just, So, we will put that away for later. Sorry about that. one of the jars sealing. I don't know if you heard that or not, but oh, there we go. When the lids pop down, they make that noise. If you're old like me, you'd know that. And a little sprinkle of cheese. Now, there's going to be people out there who say, if you don't heat this up in the oven, you're doing it wrong. But not all of us have that kind of time, and not all of us want to pay to heat the entire oven up just to do a plate of nachos. If you throw it in the microwave for 30 seconds, your chips won't be hot, your cheese will, your meat will. It's fine. Whatever way you like, do it in a way that makes you happy and less hungry. Also, a lot of people don't know this, but if you eat all the chips off the top and all the cheese is gone, you can add more cheese and put it back in the microwave. Alright, so we've got some salsa, we've got some extra serrano peppers for those of us who like things a little bit more zippy than others. And we've got our chips all done, ready to go in the microwave. Because yeah, I'm going to microwave them. So, I hope you enjoyed watching this whole video. Hopefully this is the start of a series, and we'll actually do some more fun stuff. I'd love it if I could have a guest in my kitchen to come over and teach me how to cook something they love cooking in a way that all of you enjoy watching. So, have a great day. As I always say, be well and be good to each other.